Okay, great. All right, so can we have like a recap of what we did in the last class? Timmy, are you still here with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you discuss in the last class? Let's have like a recap before we go into today's class. Because we're finally done with stakeholder module. We trashed everything about stakeholder, at least for the beginner stage, right? Been able to look at it, all of the things needed, right? So do you want to tell me about stakeholder management and all we discussed in the last class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you're the tutor, I'm listening.
We discuss about stakeholder management, stakeholder communication.
Mhm.
We said is the foundation of a successful project.
Okay.
And we also discussed why stakeholder matter. We discussed about identifying our stakeholder and involving stakeholders, figuring out who our stakeholder are.
Yeah, we did. Okay, so do you remember the three element part of essential for project success? The first one I said was good communications, right? I said
Yes.
agile methodology, and again I said project closure. That is why we're discussing it. So when I discuss how to identify stakeholders, we went further to say, what do you want? In my bag? Okay. We went further to look at some ways to map stakeholders where we did power interest grid, right? So do you remember some of the things we spoke about the power interest grid?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to tell us? Hmm? The power interest grid. Similarly, you are not giving me back to back. Oh no, what's going on now? We did the stakeholder management for a whole module, like we trust it. So I was expecting back to back response. So what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? Hmm? The power grid. What can you remember? Just tell me one or two things you can remember. Remember, for me, I don't need you to cram. I just want you to understand the fundamentals, right? So what do you remember about the power grid?
The power interest grid is all about the stakeholder. How interested are they in the project? And
Mhm.
who has the power, the most power in the project? So the person that has the most interest in the project and that has power, that has higher power in the project is our number one stakeholder.
Hmm.
We also have those with the higher power and low interest.
Mm-hmm.
We also have those with the higher interest but low power.
Mm-hmm. But do you understand what all of those things mean, right? When somebody has high power, high interest, what do you do to that kind of a person?
You make sure you give the person information how the project is going on.
Okay. Were you able to look at your notes after the class?
Yes.
You did. All right. We're going to look at stakeholders now, more like a recap. I'm not going to say anything, right? So you remember the three things we spoke about, right? Yes, you have an idea of what was discussed, but what I really wanted was, who are you supposed to manage closely? Who are you supposed to keep satisfied? Who are you supposed to keep informed, right? And who are you supposed to just monitor and say, okay, this person is really not as important as, you know, as I thought the person is, right? I remember that we also did an analysis of these people, right? So the good part is you already have an idea of, okay, this is the way to analyze, right? You have those with high power, and then you have those with high power, high interest, high power, low interest. Already we understood how that works, right? But it's also important to know what you need to do with them. Like, how do you manage them? What are the things you're supposed to do? If somebody has high power and high interest, you know that you need to manage that person closely, right? Which I explained, that that person can be seen as like your CEO, right? And the other person that has high power but maybe low interest, right? You don't really have so much interest. Just keep them informed. Just keep them informed, right? So I also discussed the leadership, how you're supposed to manage your team. And then there are some, they don't have they don't have power, but they are interested in it, right? And there are some that they don't even have anything, right? They don't have power at all, which we spoke about as customers, but they also have interest because that's their project you're working on. I know it's a whole lot of things discussing stakeholders, but I also need you to have that idea in mind so that you'll be able to, what's the word? You'll be able to remember those things. You'll be able to remember it, right? You'll be able to say, okay, these are the people that are important to me. These are what I'm supposed to do. These are people that are not important to me, and these are what I'm supposed to do, right? I also spoke about how do you know these stakeholders, right? We said meetings, we said you have like an interview with them, we also said project charter and all of those information. You will get information about them. We said EEF enterprise. Please hold on 1 minute. Yes, sorry. So we also said there are 4 things that are important. We said high power, high interest. We said high power, low interest. We said low power, high interest. And then we said low power, low interest, right? High power, high interest, we're saying that those are the big boys like the CEO, right? You ensure that manage them closely, ensure that they're happy, right? Low power, high power, low interest, right? They really don't have interest. Sorry. That means you have to keep them satisfied, right? Those that have interest, just keep them informed, right? Low power, low interest, just monitor them. I know it's a lot. Even myself, sometimes I kind of mix it up sometimes, but always use, that's why I gave you this power interest grid. So have that, that formula off your head. So it will be easy to say this person is under this person is under this, this my CEO is under this, and this is head of the department is under this, right? So it starts from you identifying where these people actually fit in, and then you'll be able to kind of give them the best strategy. So basically, why I want you to know that is what kind of strategy will you give them, right? If your CEO is calling you and your head of department is calling you, who should you respond to first? You know, sometimes we feel like we know these things, but when you are in the middle of conflicting interests, which always happen for a project, you know, somebody that has high power and high interest is telling you do this, and somebody that doesn't have that power is saying do this. So because you know what to do, you know the strategy, to be easy to kind of manage it. I'm so sorry, these kids are really distracting me. I'm bringing my attention back to you. So stakeholder management is really key before we go into project closure, right? Is one of the things that I want you to go back to your notes and then look at it again, because aside discussing this power and interest grid, we also discuss communication, right? Communication planning, who needs information, what do they need, the kind of information they need, right? We also did different element of a communication. What do you need to do, right? What should your communication plan be? People can ask questions, people can give input, like give input rather. You know, we also discuss how to analyze stakeholder needs. My point is, before we go into project closure, you really, really, really need to understand stakeholders management. It's one of the key things that even senior project managers will still making mistakes in managing stakeholders, right? We'll still, some of us are still struggling, but myself, I am still learning a lot, because you still get some stakeholders that are really difficult to handle. But what I always do is what I've taught you, kind of analyze this person. What would this person need in this project? Who is this person? Is it somebody that has had the power to really influence my project? But once I'm able to analyze who this person, identify this person, then I'll be able to analyze this person needs. So that is why all of this strategy is saying put this person into different buckets. If this person is high power, high interest, you know that this person is high level, you know. And then all of the things we spoke about, stakeholders, you'll be able to manage them. What are you supposed to do? We also spoke about meetings. As a leader, you don't just call people and say, come. You know, what you're supposed to tell them via email, you are calling the meeting. What you're supposed to just give updates. You know, we spoke about different ways to communicate to them. So all of the things we said during module, I think that's module 5. Yeah, module 5, module 6. About stakeholder management, you need to put them to heart. Like, you need to focus on it. You need to go back to your notes again. You need to write them down. The reality is, those are the things you'll be doing daily, because stakeholder project management is like more percentage of dealing with humans than even your tools, right? It's not about, okay, I have Asana, I can do Asana, I can do this. That is why we discussed leadership, emotional intelligence. If you remember in class, we spoke about influence and authority. As a project manager, you're not the CEO, right? What you're going to work with is your influence. Are you able to persuade people? We spoke about how to relate with your colleagues, how to be kind, you know, how to show up, how to build trust. When Timile is saying something, you know, you get that somebody is saying, oh yes, I trust Timile is going to deliver. You know, we spoke about building rapport and trust. Yes, when we gave the example of somebody is having a birthday party, some of your colleagues, the first time they invited you, you didn't show up. Second time, third time, you didn't show up. At the point, they'll just feel like Timile is just a beef. Let's just leave her out of anything we are doing. And it's not just about the social life, even in the work, they won't trust you, right? And then we spoke about empathy. Somebody is sick and say, I can't meet up, but you don't care. It's just about your timeline, right? And that's what we're saying. You need to care about other people. Timeline, people first, right? That's why Agile method is saying people over processes. That's how it works. Active listening. Now, all of those things, discussing it during the last class is not for fun, right? Because we're coming into project closure. And I remember I said in the last class, yeah, I think I'm getting my focus now. The noise has reduced. Sorry, I was trying to catch up with this So much noise earlier. Okay, so remember in the last class, right, when we did this leadership and all of that, we did a lot of scenarios, examples, and stuff, right? The reason why we're doing that is we're coming to project closure. Now, if you do not understand the fundamentals of everything we'll be discussing from now, there's no point discussing closure, because this is like the embodiment, like this is like the results part of everything you've been working on so far, right? But one thing I believe is, if you have been practicing this thing, what we've been discussing in class, it will be easy for you to get into the point of project closure and know what to do at this point. However, I said we'll also be having a revision class before your exam, where we're going to be breaking down again in summary of everything we discussed from module 1, right? And I also gave you like an heads up, like, okay, this heads up for you. Look at those courses from module 1 till now. What don't you know? Like, what is really giving you a tough time to understand? Is it scope management? Is it rigs? What do you need us to focus on, right? Because we can look at it from module 1 back to where we are, project closure, right? And I will assume that some things are really clear, based on how well we kind of discuss it. For example, stakeholder management, we really dwelled on it, right? Right. But I need your feedback to know, oh yeah, we did, but I still did not get this, right? So if you're able to give me that feedback, we'll be able to break it down again. It can even be when we discuss WBS, Gantt chart, and all of those things, and you want us to look at it again, right? You can always do that. Now, today is project closure. We'll be doing project closure for today, for tomorrow, and then next week, right? Because everything we're doing as project managers, right? For everything we've been discussing, everything we've been looking at, it all comes down to how it is, how it's being packaged, right? Right. It's not just about I'm done with my work, this is how it is, take it. No, there's still some official handover that must be done. Some lessons you will learn. Like I said earlier, there will be conflicting issues. Sometimes you will plan and plan and plan, but things would not go as planned. That's why we have what we call lesson learned in project management. Because every project is unique, right? You are always learning something. And when you're learning something, you're supposed to document these things down, right? So you've done a good job. You've prepared a fantastic meal. For example, whatever project you're working on is a fantastic meal. So, of course, you need to deliver that. If you're working on a program, maybe for young professionals, that day it has to happen. That event has to happen, right? If that event doesn't happen, the project is a failure already, because that event did not happen. So, project closure is something that you can't skip, because that's it. It is not just ending the project. That's where people get it wrong. Is the final value point, of your delivery. That's the point where you will say, oh, what I actually did was successful. You are holding yourself accountable to say what I did is really, really successful, right? It is when you're putting things together, trying to put things together to really, really make sense to you. So that is why we are discussing project closure today. So the first question is, what is project closure, right? I've already given you like an example to say, or explanation to say project closure is like the final phase in the project cycle, right? Where all your project activity are officially completed, where the final product or services is transferred to the owner. The owner can be the users in this case, right? And then the project is formally terminated. Remember when we discussed different ways to terminate a project? Do you remember, Timileyin?
Yes, ma'am.
Where we said you can close it properly. Do you still remember all of those things?
Yes.
You've forgotten. Your yes is not affirmative. Your yes is, I think so. Your yes is, I think so. Do you remember?
I can't really remember everything.
So everything I've been discussed in class, you can't remember it for project closure.
Okay.
So tell me what you can remember.
Closing the project properly, or
Okay, let me help you. But you have to go back to your note. That is why we need to do a summary, because I see that you're forgetting a lot of things. Now, we said that when you formally close your project, you give your deliverables to your stakeholders, they're happy with it, everything is going well, right? That's the best way. We also give a name, right? And that's the best way to close your project. Now, there are different ways that project can be closed or terminated. For example, if the funds for the project is being transferred to another project, if the project doesn't want to serve a purpose and is just terminated, okay, we don't want to go ahead with this project, right? If after it is being done, your stakeholder just feel like you didn't really deliver, right? This is not the best that you can deliver, and they're not happy with your delivery, right? But we also said the best part of it is when it's completed successfully, right? When it's being finalized, when it's not like, oh, we are terminating this because of this, because of that, right? When everything is done properly. That is why we are discussing project closure. And we'll go into that in details because I see that you've forgotten all of it. But you can end a project and your deliverable will not be the best, right? I can end the project. I've handed over, my stakeholders are not happy, but I've handed over. But when you're able to hand over formally and your stakeholders are happy, that's the point we want to discuss. That is what is really key. That should be your desire as a project manager. Like that should be your goal, right? So project closure, like I said, is the final phase in the project life cycle. It is when your activity is officially completed. It is when you are done. You know, just like when you cook any food. What's the best food, Timileyin? What's the
plantain and
best
egg.
meal? You like good things, plantain and egg. Okay. When you bought your plantain, your egg, and you are done with all of it, you followed your method to fry the plantain, and then the method to fry the egg. When you're done with all of that, you need to formally say, okay, this food is ready, right? If you are the only one that needs to eat the food, you kind of serve the food and you start eating, right? If you're not, you arrange the food the way the person wants to eat the food. Maybe your friend or your mom is saying, oh, this is the way I want my food. Your mom will have a desire of how the food needs to be served. Maybe your mom likes to use like a very nice plate, a flat plate, or your mom likes to use a deep plate, whatever plate it is, you know what your mom likes. So you have to, first of all, cook the food exactly the way your mom requested, right? And then you serve the food to your mom with the exact plate that your mom always eats with. You know, some people have favorite plates. There's some plates I don't like eating with. You know that in my house, right? So once you do all of that, you're able to cook the food the way your mom will like it. And then when your mom have the food, right, if she's okay with it, she's happy, right? Because that food is for her. So yourself, if the food is the plantain and egg is for you and you're done cooking, and when you eat the food, it tastes so nice, you feel satisfied. But of course, if it's not tasting so nice, which of course I trust you to taste nice, so it means that there are still some things you've not done well. While we're going to go into that, first of all, what is even project closure? What is, I'm done with the food, I want to serve it. That's what we are talking about. What is it in the first place before we go deeply into it? Now, project closure is that part where we say we're done with everything we're working on. We are ready to deliver it, right? And it's important because if your work is what's the word? If you're able to do all of that and nobody is able to eat that food, it's already a waste. right? You've cooked the food, but you've not served the food for somebody to eat and like give feedback. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Then it's not done. The project is not done when the work is finished. No, it is done when you're able to deliver to the end user or whoever that needs that particular project. Sorry, am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Can you?
Timile, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear you?
Okay, so, okay, great, thank you. So, number one, why is project closure important? Why do we need to say after we finish cooking the food, we need to serve the food, like get the benefit of this food, right? Because that's the crucial part. The benefit of the project needs to be achieved, right? And so project closure is important because it helps you, if there are any unfinished tasks, you are able to look at the losing. What have I not done? Right? Just as if you want to serve the plantain and egg, you are going to look at it. Okay, you are serving plantain. Is there anything missing? Oh, egg is missing. And then when you're serving, oh, there's no cutlery or anything. You'll be able to check, what are they losing? What have I not done properly? So imagine that you're building a house for someone now, and then when you're building it, right, trying to close that project, you have to look at it again. What have we done? Are we done with the painting? How does the ceiling look like? Okay, the doors, this person said they need 3, 4, 5 doors. Okay, are we done? Okay, what are the things you're supposed to deliver? At that point, when you're trying to check all of the things, you built for that project, before you hand it over to the end users, to stakeholder, wherever you're building that property for, you would have even checked it yourself, because that's the essence of project closure. It still gives you the ability to say, okay, let me have that final look of it, right? What are the things? So when you're looking at it, you can now see what are the things that can negatively affect, the long-term success of this project. Now, based on that, because there's something called project closure, every project must be formally closed. Every project. Whether that project is terminated, the normal closure is successful completion, right? The project has been completed, you meet your deliverables, your work is finished, normal closure. Premature closure, that's just the simple way to explain it, right? It's like early termination. What it means is that something happens, either they change the budget or the market is changing, or even feeling like, oh, this project doesn't serve the purpose, let's just close it, it has failed. Now, whatever the case may be, right, or even the requirements that say, now we don't want this again, the requirement, this is not the requirement, you are doing another kind of project, whatever it is, one thing I need you to know is they should be formally, like there should be a formal documentation that we are ending this project. So whatever the case may be, if okay, there's no funds, we are terminating, there's it's not a normal closure, whatever it is, just close it. Let there be a formal procedure to say we are closing this project, right? And so when you're doing that, you know that the importance of doing that is you'll be able to get the value, ensure the value, the full value of whatever you are working on. In the case of termination, you might not be able to get the full value, but at least you know where you stopped. You know that, okay, we stopped at this is the value we are able to get, right? In the case of normal closure, where everything, your deliverable is right and everything is okay, it's not like your project was terminated or your project failed or things like that. At least that will ensure that you got, the full value of what you need to get, right? Timileyin, are you still
Yes,
with me?
ma'am.
Timileyin, are you still with me, or my network is hurting me right now?
I'm here.
Timileyin, I can't hear you. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, my network is not breaking my heart. Timileyin, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Timileyin, are you still here? Have you been listening to me since, or you've not been hearing me say, can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so I will need you to respond when I'm asking. The reason is, so I know that I still have your attention, and I know that my network is not. No, I know you can hear me. I'm just saying sometimes I will call your name. I just need you to respond immediately. So I know that it is not my network. Do you understand?
Okay, ma'am.
Do you understand,
Yes, ma'am.
Timileyin?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Timileyin? Okay. Okay. Okay, so let me move forward quickly. The point I'm making is project closure helps you provide feedback to your stakeholders, look at the things you've done and say, okay, have we been able to cover this, right? And then it helps you to say, okay, my stakeholder, you want this. These are the things you've been able to achieve, right? So when you are able to hand over what you've worked on, right, your stakeholder will be able to say, oh, great, this is what we discussed earlier. You've been able to do that. Thank you very much. Okay, they're happy with what you did, right? And then you avoid any legal issues. Legal issues meaning that if you've gotten like a contract from someone, when you're closing the project formally, you'll be able to say, see, this contract has ended, the project has ended, I've paid you, everybody goes, right? Because project is not an ongoing operation where you are able to get people working endlessly over and over again. Then when it becomes an ongoing thing, it's no more a project, it's more like an operation, right? So basically, what I'm saying is project closure is really key because it is that time where you are officially done with your activities, and you need to transfer that to the owner of the project, right? Now, saying all of this, it looks like project closure is really easy. It's just a bit just to hand over. No, there are a lot of things involved in project closure, and there are a lot of challenges that we face in project closure, right? So we're going to be breaking down these challenges, and in between breaking down these challenges, we're also going to be looking at what we discussed earlier. So that's why, if you've noticed, I kept asking about what we discussed in class. And I'm also finding out that most of the things we discussed in the early times, like module 1, module 2, module 3, you can't remember most of them again, right? And the goal is for you to remember all of it, right? All of it. If you're not remembering it, then we need to talk about it again in class. and we need to ensure that you are able to remember it. You're able to understand these things. You're able to understand these terms when you hear it outside. You're able to use these skills in real life, right? For real projects. Now, project closure face some challenges. There are common challenges that we face every time when we want to hand over the project, where we feel like, okay, we've done our best now. We've done what we are supposed to do, right? Now, I know that some project managers feel so bad, especially when they are facing a lot of orders. They have proper planning, they've tried executing, but at the end of the day, their deliverable just did not come out right. And then trying to hand over what they've worked on to like the owner or the users in the case may be, there's always a problem, right? Now, the first one is lack of clear closure criteria. What does that mean? Some team they are not clear about what do you mean by this project is done? What is done for this project? So that means what is like, how will I know that what are the checklists, the checklist of things I need to do to ensure that this project is what I'm supposed to deliver, right? Now that comes from when you are having very ambiguous project scope. So there is no clear criteria to say these are the things you need to do. Remember when we spoke about scope creep? Do you remember scope creep? Similarly, do you remember scope
Yes,
creep?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Similarly, are you here? If you're not responding, I can't go ahead to teach you because I need to know that you understand what I'm saying. Similarly, do you remember scope creep? You can put it in the chat if you cannot respond. So what is scope creep? Similarly, what is scope creep? What's going on today? You're not giving me vibe and fire. What's going on today? Are you distracted there? Okay, it's my network. But I can hear you now. Okay, put it in the chat. What is scope creep? And we can move forward. See me, don't have much time. What is scope creep? Can you still hear me? You can just give me an emoji if you can
Yes,
still
ma'am.
hear
I
me.
can hear you. Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Okay, close. When you're making requests or changes to the project without proper approval, right? When there are a lot of requests come in to say, okay, let's add this to this. I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly. I think it's the network. Maybe it's breaking a bit, but I must definitely get a response so that I'll be sure you're here. So that I hope that I'm not talking to myself, right? Okay, so lack of closure criteria, brings from scope creep, ambiguous scope, they are not clear. What do you want to do? Nobody knows what you're doing. You're working on the project and you have 1,000 things. Okay, let's say that I'm working on maybe building an application. Yes, you already know I like application. Thank you very much. So you're working on building an application, and then you're saying these are the things, these are the features I want to build for this product, right? You've listed those things, and then as a project manager, you're following up with the engineers, you're following up with the product owner to say, okay, what are we doing? What's presently in the backlog? What are we doing for this sprint, right? Now, when you're doing all of that, right, you need to understand that these are the things you're working with, right? okay, this is when we say that we are done with this project, we are done with this application, right? But if we don't have that clear checklist to say when we built the transfer, when we built like a mobile wallet, and the mobile wallet is able to do XYZ, then we're done, right? If we don't have that clear cut, it will be hard for us to hand over the project because we don't even know if we are done. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. There's no clear criteria to say this is when you are truly done, right? So at that point, you are confused because that's one of the challenges about project closure, because things keep coming. You don't even know what is success. So maybe you're supposed to work on the transfer, right? And the way the transfer is supposed to work is, if I'm trying to transfer to Timilehin, I should be able to see Timilehin's name on the platform before I'm able to send the money. But during the building or development, we didn't say that I'm supposed to see Timilehin's name. So because I did not know that there was no checklist, no criteria of is how it should be done, I didn't add it to it. So when I'm handing over, because there was no clear criteria or things I need to do, I'm a bit confused because I don't know what to do. So I handed over to say, these are the things. So this is what I worked on. Is this okay? Right? There's always closure issues, right? Because there's no clear definition of these are the things that you should do. Another thing that is always a problem with project closure is stakeholders resistance. Remember when we did stakeholder management? That is why we did stakeholder management before discussing project closure. Because some stakeholders, they don't want the project to end. They don't want the project to close. Why? They want to keep bringing changes. You are done building, you're done with the project. Okay, let's say you're supposed to what should we use? I'm supposed to create like a program, a women's program, right? And then at the first time you said we are having this women program in August, you've gotten speakers, you've gotten team members that will work with you, you've done the program, right? Activities, event you've scheduled. Okay, let's have this thing in August 20th. Your stakeholders keep pushing it away. You see, let's not do it on the 20th. And let's add something to it. So let's have like an activity. Stakeholder resistance, because they don't want the project to go. They don't want the project to just come that day. They want more time to plan. They want to make more changes, right? That's one of the problem of closure, because at the end of the day, you will not be able to deliver the work to the owners, like deliver that thing that you're supposed to deliver for the project, that unique benefit or goal that project or outcome that project is supposed to achieve. Why? Because stakeholders are resisting. They always want to add something. There's something they want to add to it. So those are the challenges we face in project closure. You see that a program that's supposed to be in August, I don't know if you've experienced it. All of a sudden, they said they moved the event. Have you ever experienced something like that before?
Yes, ma'am.
Timilehin.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So it's sometimes you start facing that issue, right, where you're having resistance from your stakeholders. That's one of the things. Another thing is unresolved issues. Remember when we did issue management, right? When we said that issue is not something is going to happen, issue means it has happened, right? How are you able to solve it? It means respond to it right now, find a solution. Sometimes when there are a lot of issues and you're not able to resolve it, right, it can delay project closure. You're not able to deliver that project to the owner, the users, right, to whoever that is supposed to benefit from this project, the stakeholders. You're not able because you did not effectively manage those issues. You did not track them, you didn't manage them. Proper risk management was not done. So you see that at the end of the day, it's either the project is a failed project or it was not properly closed, right? Where best practice will advise you formally close your project, sometimes issues will not even allow you to properly close it because you didn't do the right thing, right? Now, another thing about closure is lack of knowledge transfer. What does that mean? Remember I told you that no matter how much you plan, sometimes some things will not just go as it's supposed to go. It is not for you to feel bad. It's for you to learn and say what did not work. That's why you always have like a retrospective event after, after the end of a sprint, to say what did not work, what worked, so that you'll be able to learn. But you see, when we try to close a project, right, we don't transfer that knowledge. You've learned now that don't have any events in July, rain will fall and disturb you. Instead of you to document that thing and transfer that knowledge, put it in a document so that any project manager that wants to have an event in that organization within that time, they will know. But no, it was not properly, that information was not properly documented. Or maybe you budgeted like a 20,000 for a particular thing, maybe 20,000 for cake, only for you to find out that the money was not enough, because to even get a cake around that area, for example, it will cost you 250,000. But when that happened, you did not document it. Next time, you will still make the same mistake, especially when you do not remember what happened the last time. Right? Those are some of the common issues for project closure. We don't document these things that we learn. So for another project, you are still making the same mistake you made the last time. I will hear people say, no, I cannot make the same mistake, but it's a lie. People keep making the same mistake. Why? Because when they ended the first project, they did not document the lesson that they should document, right? Or they face stakeholders resistance, or they have issues that they did not resolve. So there can be a lot of things that can go wrong, a whole lot of things. So that is why we are discussing project closure now. That's why we are saying, what can we do? What can happen within this within project closure, right? What happens during this time? What are the things we can do, right? So we've discussed now to say these are the challenges, but also what are the things we can also do within this period. Now, project closure is not just like an afterthought. It is a process that is just as your planning execution is well managed, your closure too must be well managed, right? Your project, your closure too must be well managed. It's not something you say, okay, this and this and this. No, right? Now, it's an active period. Project closure is an active period. And then we have finalized activities, transfer your ownership, which we just said. This is what I have done. I'm transferring it to the owner, which may be the customer or wherever the case, people, stakeholders benefiting from it. Evaluate your performance. What did I achieve? Right? Document your lesson learned. You see, documenting lesson learned is one of the issues we are having. Now, how do you finalize all your project activity? Remember when we discussed the work breakdown structure? Do you remember work breakdown structure, Timileyin?
Yes, ma'am.
WBS, do you remember it?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to explain to me what it is? What's WBS? Okay, basically it's just breaking down your tasks from that idea of this is what I want to do. You're breaking it down to smallest activities, right? I remember we discussed it in details where we have different phases and breaking it down. For example, say we want to build a mobile app. That's a whole lot of things to say. What are the things, what are the activities for you to be able to build it? The first phase can be making research, right? Your first activity can be breaking down, making research about, maybe you want to build a mobile app about a bread owner that wants people to start ordering bread online for a bakery store. First of all, you want to make a research. Do we have other websites like that for a bakery store? You break it down. That can be like the first phase, right? After your research, the second phase can be UI US, right? What are the guys putting together? So basically, that's like breaking things down, right? Now, for doing the project closure, you need to finalize your activity. What does that mean? It means that all of the things you've broken down, you need to start checking them. Have I been able to achieve this? So, for example, in phase one, did I achieve phase one? Did I achieve the research? Did I meet up with all of these things I said I want to do? Because one of the things I said is I'm going to look at different bakery websites in the whole of, maybe you're saying in Lagos State, in the whole of Lagos State, or if Lagos State is too much, in the whole of Bariga, maybe that's your area. Let me see other bakery websites so that we know what I'm doing. Now the UI UX, you are picking, maybe the first thing you need to do is to pick the color, the dominant color for your project. Which color do you want to use, right? Now, at this stage, you are finalizing that. Was I able to achieve all of those things? Those activities I broke down, was I able to achieve them? Excuse me. Was I able to do the needful? Was I able to achieve them, right? Those are the things that you do. Those are the activities you carry out during project finalizing, right? Finalizing your activities, ensuring that, oh, I'm able to do this XYZ. The other one is transfer of ownership. What does that mean? It means that you're formally handing over your product or your services to the client. Now, the client means end user. If not the end user, then maybe the operations people, right? Or the sales people, they're the ones that will go and sell it out, right? Now, in this case of transfer, what you'll be looking at is, this is the scope. This is what you asked me to do. Was I able to do it, right? I've been able to do it, or maybe I told you Timileyin to cook egusi soup. For transfer of ownership, you are coming to meet me to say, please, Madam Stella, you told me to cook egusi soup. I have cooked the egusi soup. Based on the scope, you said the egusi soup I should use catfish. So I use catfish. You said I should use Igbo oil. I use Igbo oil to prepare it, right? You said the egusi soup should have this kind of aroma and taste. Please look at it if it has the same thing. Now, basically what you are doing is transferring your deliverables, but also showing that this is what I did based on the scope. And I'm transferring it to you, the customer, right? Look at it, evaluate it. Or I'm saying, operations team, product team are done with whatever you asked us to do. This is the project. You can test it and see if it works. So at that point, you are looking at the scope of what you promised to deliver versus what you delivered, and you're transferring that. Are you with me, Timileyin?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you. I think it's a bit slow when it comes to me, so I'm always waiting for you to get the feedback, right? But all right, that's fine. The third thing is evaluate your performance. I just explained that now, right? Look at what have I done based on the course, the schedule, the quality. Have I been able to meet up with my plan, right? You've done a whole lot of plan. You've delivered your project. So what have you done so far? Have you been able to deliver based on your plan, right? Now, all of these things I'm saying is the same thing we discussed in class, which of course my heart is broken that some of these things you cannot remember them, because I know that we explain all of these things in details, right? But the good part is we can always go back to them and discuss it, right? For evaluating performance, remember when we did project planning, detailed planning, right? What we are able to say, okay, these are the things we are able to plan now. These are the things we are doing. We also spoke about kickoff meetings where we say, okay, team, these are the things we want to achieve, right? Now, when you're evaluating, when you already have your plan, your schedule, you know, at that time of evaluating, your cost is not saying, was I able to meet this timeline, this schedule, this time, this course? Was I able to do all of these things? Now, evaluating your performance is, what did they say you are supposed to do? What have you done, right? So those are the things that happen during closure. That's why I said closure is not, hey, I'm done, take. That's not project closure. All of these checklists must be done. You need to be checking, right? Now, the other thing you need to do is to archive documents. What do I mean by archive? Keep some project document that you use, like things that are really relevant for a project. You have to keep them because you might go back to it again. You might need it, right? those are the things that can help you with lesson learning. They are really important information, right? Organize them, keep them safe. Some people keep them in a drive. You know, they are part of what we call organizational process assets, because you use them later in the future, right? So you can also have like a project review. Again, what are the goals and objective of this project? Am I able to meet it? My stakeholder said we should do X, Y, Z. Am I able to do it? Right? Document lesson learned, right? The lesson learned means this is what I did not, this is what happened in the last project. This is the way we should do it better. Put it down. That's what lesson learned. Do what the lesson is. What happened differently? What did you gain? What are the new things you knew about this project? Like, what are the things you know now that you don't know before? Write it down. And again, we have celebrate success. The team that worked with you, you need to celebrate them. You need to say, job well done, right? Job well done. You've done a good job. You've done this, you've done that. Now, the reason for all of this is so that we would know the things we are supposed to do, right? For project closure, we should be able to say, okay, let me look at my performance versus what I have done. Let me look at transferring this ownership to the users, the client operation. Now, when you're doing all of that, you will see that that point is making you check the right things that you need to check, right? Now, we have what we call a final project review. Now, just like I said, project closure is not playing. You are not playing here. You are reviewing yourself, right? You are reviewing yourself. Why am I doing this thing? You know, why am I doing this? The purpose is for you to have like an eye level, right? An eye level objective for assessing yourself to say, what did I do? What did I do for this project? Was I able to meet my deliverables? You know, is looking at the project eye level. Similarly, just like, have you ever handled like a project where before maybe somebody says you should do something, before you handed over that thing to the person, you look at it again? Good. If you're writing an exam, you see that part where before you submit, you have to be looking at your answers again, reviewing it if you miss it or you pass it. Have you ever done that before?
Yes, ma'am.
This not hearing you is making me, you're not giving me my vibe. Similarly, I can't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Timid Lane, are you here?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
What's happening today? Timid Lane, I'm not feeling your vibe. I can't hear you. Why is it taking so long to hear you? Is it the network?
Yes, ma'am. I think so.
Is it your network? Okay. So I was asking, have you ever, maybe you're writing an exam? Have you ever, maybe when you're writing an exam, that you need to review your work before you submit? Has that ever happened to you before?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. I think it's the network. It's really frustrating our communication. Okay, good. Yeah, yeah, I think it's the network. We'll try and cover much thing tomorrow, hopefully. But I can hear you clearly, so I'm not sure it is from my end, right? So what I'm saying is, you see that part, that time, they are not looking at your project, at your question book, your question answer to say, okay, what did I answer? What did I do? That is a review of your answer sheets. You are reviewing what you've done. The same thing as a project review. You are looking at what have I done? right? You're looking at your project goals and objective. Did I meet these goals and objective? Am I able to identify unresolved issues? You know, what was the actual thing versus what I've done so far? Do you understand? So, for example, if you're looking at the project goal, remember when we did project goals and objective, right? SMART goals. So you ask yourself, did I achieve this, right? You are looking at your project charter, you're looking at the objective, right, that you plan to do within the planning phase. Remember when we did the planning phase? And you're asking yourself, did I meet all of these criteria? Did I do this? You are assessing the project goals and objectives to say, did I meet it? That's like a review, right? And then you're looking at it, are there any problem, any lingering problem that I need to solve that I have not solved, right? And then you're looking at your performance. The money that we need to spend, that's your cost, the actual expenditure, you know, compared to the budget. What did I actually spend, right? The time that we were supposed to complete this project, the schedule, did I complete this project within that schedule, or I had like some delays, right? The scope, we're looking at it, that was I able to control my scope, or there are things like scope creep. Do you understand? So those are the things you're looking at to say, did I do this? Did I not do this? Did I do this? Did I not do this? That is your project review, right? We just did the checklist of things you're supposed to check when you're trying to close your project. Now, your review are basically these three things. Compare your actual cost versus the planned performance, right? What did you plan in terms of cost and schedule? Were you able to meet up? Quality, of course. What quality standard? We did quality, right? Yes, we did quality.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure you are going to respond in the chat later. So you're supposed to check all of these things and be like, oh yes, I was able to do this, I was not able to do this, right? Now, all of these things will give you like an instance of what you need to do, what you don't need to do, right? And then another thing that is important is also validating your completion with stakeholders. Now, you've done all of this product review. This is for you. Now, you need to also validate with your stakeholders, right? You've handed the ownership of that project to say, I've handed it to you, the users, I've handed it to you. So your stakeholders need to give you like a validation to say, yes, you did a good job. No, you did not do any job, right? This is not what you want. Whatever the case may be, part of project closure is validating project completion with stakeholders. Why do you need to validate? Now, you need to validate because the project you are building, you're not building it for yourself. So you need to get customer buy-in. What I mean is, or stakeholders buy-in rather, is important. Because if the stakeholders are not able to validate that, oh, good, you know, you are okay, this, you're everything, it's good to go, that we close the project. That means that the project will not close in their eyes. That project is not a personal project, right? So you can't say, I am done with it. See, end get validation. It is your job as a project manager to ensure that in the eyes of the stakeholders, that project is closed. Do you understand what I just said? It is your job. You need to validate with your stakeholders to say, this project is actually closed, right? Because if you don't get their buy-in, I mean support, that this project is actually closed, then in their eyes, the project is not actually closed. Yes, you've been able to do your own personal review or project review, Stakeholders will need to give you approval. And their process is to get approval from stakeholders, right? Their processes. The first one is they are going to review the deliverable against what you already accepted to do. We call it acceptance criteria. Because remember when we discussed quality standard, we said there are some things that are standard for a project that must be followed, right? Same as some criteria that must be followed, right? And so when you're done with your closure, doing approval from your stakeholders that you are done, they will take what you've done, which is your deliverable, and they will analyze it based. This is your deliverable. This is what you've done. This is the other side of my hand is saying your acceptance criteria, your quality. This is what it means for you to be done with the project. So they are going to evaluate both of them and says, okay, the deliverables or what you did, okay, you got to almost 70% of what we said. No, you did not get to anywhere. It's just 10% or 5%. You have to go through that. They have to review what you've done compared to what they've asked you to do, right? That's the first thing. And how are they going to review it? They're going to review it based on the requirements, based on requirement gathering, rather. What did they say do when they were planning the project? What are the things that they said is needed, right? Based on the planning, what are the things needed? Because Timileyin, when we did when we started from module 1 and module 2, going through planning, we also spoke about project goals and objectives, right? We also spoke about scope criteria, these things that should be part of a scope. I'm sure if I ask all of those things, you tell me you forgot it. But some of the things about scope, what should a project entails and what it should not entails, right? We have all those clear, and then some constraint of the project, and then why this project should exist, the deliverables and things like that, in simple words, right? Now, at this time that you are closing the project, you are supposed to go back to say, okay, based on this scope, have I been able to achieve this? What have I achieved so far? What did my stakeholder ask me to do? So let's give a class scenario. Let's say that, let's say, Timileyin, I asked you to create a project. I got a grant from federal government. I want to give farmers. And I said, you know what, create a project where you'll be able to get farmers from 3 local governments, you bring them together, organize like a conference or webinar, and then get their account number, put them like their props and things like that. Now, at the end of you planning, executing all of these things, you've broken down all of your tasks, activities, you've executed them. When you come back to me to say, this is the thing I have done so far, right? The webinar is supposed to hold this day. Now, the webinar might not even be the end of the project, it might be one of the activities you need to do. Why the end of it might be when these farmers are able to get their money and they're able to buy whatever they want to buy for their crops. Now, at the time where I am reviewing your deliverable, if I'm part of your stakeholders, right? If you're coming to me to say, this is what I have done so far, right? What am I going to check? I will go back to those things I told you to focus on from the scope, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That is what I will go back to. So I will bring the project charter that has information about the project, the benefit, and things like that. We'll bring the planning document, and then we start looking at all of those things to say, what did we ask you to do? We said get farmers. Were you able to get farmers? If at the end of the day, the webinar, you are not able to get farmers, trying to get teachers. When I'm reviewing your deliverables, I'll tell you, you failed, because the project charter or the scope is saying we need you to get farmers, train them, put them into a mentorship, a group, ensure that you open wallet for them, give them funding. When you give them funding towards the end of the project, ensure that it creates impact. They're able to buy more crops, increase their product. Now, when I am trying to evaluate when you are closing the project and handing over everything you've done, if I found out at that point that Timileyin did not get farmers, Timileyin went to get teachers because she was not able to meet farmers. Now, the first part of it is I'll look at the criteria, which is part of your scope, to say what are the criteria for this project. And when I look at it, the first criteria is get farmers, and you did not get farmers, right? You got teachers. That's one problem, right? Because what am I doing? I am reviewing your deliverable against your acceptance criteria. I'm not just coming to me to say, okay, let me see what you've done. Okay, this is what you've done. Okay, it looks fine. This man looks fine. Okay, this is looking fine. Now, at that point, even if you have a fine design, even if your webinar looks so fine, and there are a lot of people that came for the webinar, right? If that webinar doesn't have farmers attending that webinar, then there's a problem. Because I am not just checking your deliverables in isolation. I am checking your deliverable based on what I asked you to do. Right, in the project criteria. So you see that project closure is not just for playing. It is that assessment point, that deliverable point where you're assessing what have I done. So at that point, if I am checking and I'm seeing that, okay, Timileyin did not do a great job with it, and you got this, right? I am going to be sitting down to say you didn't deliver the right outcome. You messed things up. These are not farmers now. These are teachers now. So at that point, I wouldn't even care if your webinar went so well, because you didn't even meet people we asked you to bring.
Yes, ma'am.
You have any question? You just keep saying yes, ma'am. Do you have any question for me?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I will advise in the next class that you try to be on camera, so I will know if you're distracted or not, if you're here with me. That's my advice. The reason is, for you to be able to understand what is being taught in class, I need your full attention. Project management is no joke, right? And the good part is we have an interactive class. So I need you to pay attention. I need you to be present in class. I need you to respond, right? And so if you're on camera, just as I am, right, I'll be able to know if you're distracted, and then I'll be able to wait for you. But if you're far from your phone and then you're always coming back to your phone to say yes, it kind of defeats the purpose, because at the end of the day, I would think that I'm transferring knowledge to you about a topic, and you're not even getting it because you're not paying attention to class. So please, our advice for tomorrow's class, project closure is important. I see that even for stakeholder management that we did recently, you got some things right, which I was so glad. And there are some things you still did not get, which is okay. We need to also have like a recap, right? But I would enjoy it better if after the class, you're able to go back to your notes, kind of internalize the processes and learn also yourself when you read more. Is that right, Timileyin?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. See you tomorrow in class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye. Take care of yourself.